play drums. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivana Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivana Yasodanandana Vadajana Ranjana Yasoda Yasodanandana Vadajana Ranjana Yasoda Jamuna Tiravana Charinati Jamuna Tiravana Charinati Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivana Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivana Yasodanandana Vadajana Ranjana Yasoda Yasodanandana Vadajana Ranjana Yasoda Jamuna Tiravana Charimunati Jamuna Tiravana Charimunati Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Jīvānāṁ Paramahamsa Vivikta-dṛṣṭi Srila Divine Grace, Srila HG Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Kota Vaishnava ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Prem Sikaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Samakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan ki jai, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Shri Maya Purnabhidham ki jai, Ganga Maya ki jai, Jamuna Maya ki jai, Tulsi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Go Premanandi, all glorious summer devotees, all glorious summer devotees, all glorious summer devotees, all glorious Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. No, that's all right. What do you think? I don't know. It's all right for me. Okay, so this morning we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning we're reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 5, text number 24. Drita Tonur Usati. Oh, they didn't put it up, huh? Is the board there? They didn't write it, huh? Me Parani Yeneha Satvang Palamang Pavitram Samo Dhamma Satyam Anugrahas Cha Tapas. Are you sure this is the right verse? I don't think this is the verse today. Huh? It's 26, yeah. 26. Yeah. Yeah, 26. Sarvani Mat dhiṣṇyatayā Bhavadbis Charani Bhutani Sutta Juvani Sambhavitavyani Pade Pade Vo vivikta-dṛṣṭi Tad U Haranam We're used to saying Hari. Let's put that A in there. Harhanang me sarvani mad dhiṣṇyatayā bhavadbhis charani bhutani sutaduvani sambhavitavyani pade padevo vivikta-dṛṣṭi tad uhaharan me sarvani mad dhiṣṇyatayā bhavadbhis charani bhutani sutaduvani sambhavitavyani pade padevo vivikta-dṛṣṭi tad uhaharan me sarvani mad dhiṣṇyatayā bhavadbhis charani bhutani sutaduvani sambhavitavyani pade padevo vivikta-dṛṣṭi tad uhaharan me sarvani mad dhiṣṇyatayā bhavadbhis charani bhutani sutaduvani sambhavitavyani pade padevo vivikta-dṛṣṭi tad uhaharan me sarvani mad dhiṣṇyatayā bhavadbhis charani bhutani sutaduvani sambhavitavyani pade padevo vivikta-dṛṣṭi tad uhaharan me sarvani mad dhiṣṇyatayā bhavadbhis charani bhutani sutaduvani sambhavitavyani pade padevo sarvani all mad dhiṣṇyatayā because of being my sitting place bhavadbhi by you charani that move bhutani living entities sutta my dear sons dhruvanī that do not move sambhavitavyani to be respected pade pade at every moment va by you vivikta-dṛṣṭi possessing clear vision and understanding that the Supreme Personality of Godhead in His Paramatma feature is situated everywhere. Tatu, that indirectly, certainly, arhanam, offering respect, may, unto me. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki. My dear sons, you should not envy any living entity, be he moving or non-moving. Knowing that I am situated in them, you should offer respects to all of them at every moment. In this way, you offer respects to me. Purport. In this verse, the word vivikta-dṛṣṭi, meaning without envy, is used. All living entities are the abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in His Paramatma feature. As confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, andhantarastha paramanu chayantarastam. The Lord is situated in this universe as Garbhodakṣayi Vishnu and Kshirodakṣayi Vishnu. He is also situated within every atom, according to the Vedic statement, Isavashamidang sarvam. The Supreme Lord is situated everywhere, and wherever He is situated is His temple. We even offer respects to a temple from a distant place, and all living entities should similarly be respected, should be offered respect. This is different from the theory of pantheism, which holds that everything is God. Everything has a relationship with God because God is situated everywhere. We should not make any particular distinction between the poor and the rich like the foolish worshippers of Daridra Narayan. Narayan is present in the rich as well as the poor. One should not simply think Narayan is situated among the poor. He is everywhere. An advanced devotee will offer respects to everyone, even to the cats and dogs. Vidya vinaya sampane brahmane gavihastini sunichaiva sapakecha pandita samadarshana. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater, outcast. Bhagavad Gita 5:18. This samadarshana, equal vision, should not be mistaken to mean that the individual is the same as the Supreme Lord. They are always distinct. Every individual person is different from the Supreme Lord. It is a mistake to equate the individual living entity with the Supreme Lord on the plea of vivikta-dṛṣṭi, samadrik. The Lord is always in an exalted position, even though He agrees to live everywhere. Srila Madhvacarya, that's interesting, he quotes him today's his appearance day or disappearance? Appearance day. Srila Madhvacarya, quoting Padma Purana, states, vivikta-dṛṣṭi jīvānāṁ dhiṣṇyatayā parameśvarasya bheda-dṛṣṭi. One who has clear vision and who is devoid of envy can see that the Supreme Lord is separate from all living entities, although He is situated in every living entity. Madhvacarya further quotes from the Padma Purana. Dimitri, can you bring my computer down from my room, please? Upapadayat paratmanam jīvābhyo ya pade pade bheda-dṛṣṭiḥ chaitasmat priyo vishnos tukashtana. One who sees the living entity and the Supreme Lord as always distinct is very dear to the Lord. Padma Purana also states, Yo hares chaiva jīvānāṁ bheda-dṛṣṭi priyaha. One who preaches that the living entities are separate from the Supreme Lord is very dear to Lord Vishnu. Thank you. Om Jnanatam-anandasya Jnananjana Salakya Chaksham Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Mukram Krotavachalam Pangun Langhaite Grim Yakripataraham Bande Shigurum Dinataranam Vanchakalpatubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Bhavanevya Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasili Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. The first thing Lord Rishabhdev says is that one should not envy any living entity. That's difficult in this age, at this time. As Krishna says, Icha dvaisa samudvaina dvannamohena bharata. That all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by the dualities arising from desire and hate. So this is the situation in the material world. There's a lot of envy. Just like whenever there's a political, some voting going on for who's going to be the president or governor. People express their likes and dislikes, and sometimes even politicians they'll shoot one another. You know, so much envy. And Prabhupada was saying how there was there was two brothers who had some disagreement, and they were arguing with one another. And the argument got kind of heated, and they started fighting. And one of them killed the other. Brothers. Yeah. And then it went to court. The one that survived the argument went to court, and the judge sentenced him to death. But the father was there, and he said, "Judge, please, I have two sons. One's dead, and one's alive. Please, at least let him live. Let my one son live." All right, prison for the rest of his life. So just see how envy, it's such a rampant thing. And here it's interesting that he even says non-moving. Now we could understand people being envious of moving living entities, people, but non-moving? What's a non-moving entity? Trees, plants. So, yeah, sometimes people, they got a tree in their house or in their yards, and I don't like that tree. Let's cut it down. No, just don't like it. I don't like its looks, just like some people. And then some people are like, I don't like your looks, they start fighting, So they just don't like the looks of that tree. Let's cut it down. I don't like the looks of that bush. Cut it down. Even envy of non-moving living entities. So the way to get free of this envy is to, as it's stated here, to understand that Krishna, he is there in the hearts, or there in all living entities. And therefore every living entity should be respected, knowing that it's like a temple. Each body is a temple. Krishna is there. Therefore we respect all living entities. Now here it's mentioned also that we respect all living entities, but sometimes it's like there's one instance where Prabhupada, he was visiting a temple. Now this is back in the days of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He was visiting a temple, and some devotees saw that there was a dangerous snake in the courtyard there, and devotees got afraid. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was on his veranda there, and he saw the snake as well. And he told the devotees, "Kill it." And the devotees, they got some weapon or something, they killed the snake. And Prabhupada was surprised that he said to kill it. And then he looked later in the Vedas, and somewhere in the scripture, that envious living entities like scorpions, snakes, they should immediately be killed because they'll attack for no good reason. Dogs are like that too. Sometimes dogs will just, they kill people. They just attack and kill people. So, also there's an instance where Prabhupada was getting a massage. Prabhupada was getting a massage from Shrutikirti, and they were in a net, a little mosquito net. He was massaging. So Shrutikirti said, "Prabhupada, there's a mosquito in here. Should I kill it?" He said, No, it's not bother. And then after some time, the mosquito landed on Prabhupada. He said, "Now kill it. It has attacked." So we're not sentimental. It's like some people, they're like fanatic, non-violent. And there was one person, I think he was, it was a guru that was promoting that, just absolute non-violence. And Prabhupada said, well, if you're walking down the street and he had a female disciple there with him, and your female disciple is walking next to you, and someone comes and attacks her, you won't stop him? He said, no. And the female disciple looked at her guru and said, "Really? You won't protect me?" He was kind of put in an unusual situation. I forgot what he said. But anyway, he was not good. Sometimes it's necessary. Prabhupada mentions that in one purport. Sometimes where good arguments fail, violence is necessary. Just like before the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Krishna, he was a mediator. Yudhisthira sent him to the gurus and tried to get them to, well, let's try to avoid this battle. So Krishna said to Duryodhana, listen, the Pandavas, they're kshatriyas, they have to manage something. Just give them each a village. They could, rule that village. And what did Duryodhana say? I will not give the amount of land that the end of a needle will go on. So envious. He's so envious. So, but Krishna, he wanted the world to be ruled by a virtuous leader, a devotee, such as Yudhisthira, not Duryodhana. So, therefore, war was inevitable. And how many people died? How many? How many know? Anybody know? 640 million. 64 crore. That was probably the biggest war ever in history. Our modern historians don't know about that. But yeah, so many people died. And Yudhisthira felt bad. He felt very bad about that so many people died so that he can be posted as leader. And he went to Krishna and he tried to get some consolation, just try to get, how can I live with this? And Krishna didn't satisfy him, so he went to Bhishma. And Bhishma is on the bed of arrows. He'd been shot so many times. It's described that you couldn't even he was been shot so many times you couldn't put your finger in between the arrows. He was shot so many times, but he was still living. He had a benediction from his father that you die when you want to. So he was laying on this bed of arrows. And Yudhisthira went and he spoke to him. He had so much love for grandfather Bhishma. And he spoke to him. Actually, a huge part of the Mahabharata is Bhishma speaking to Yudhisthira. He was there a long time on that bed of arrows speaking the truth. So one thing he said was, it's very difficult to understand the plan of the Lord. Very few can understand what is the plan of Krishna. So don't be surprised that you don't understand. Very few can understand. But understand it is the plan of the Lord. It was His plan that this happened. And you Pandavas, you are instruments in His desire. So, and therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna told Arjuna, Nimittammatram bhavasavya sachin, that you just be an instrument in my hands. And many times book distributors, when they're given their book distribution classes, they'll mention this, that we're just trying to be instruments in the hands of Krishna. And this is the reality. We're just, we're not the doers. Krishna's the doer. We're just trying to be instruments in the hands of Krishna to fulfill His plan. This Sankirtan mission is also the plan of Krishna. Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came. Pritiviti achayati nagaradigram sarvatapachoyoy morinam. It was predicted that the name of Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, will be spread to every town and village throughout the world. And that's happening now. Still, it's happening. by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is his plan. And Prabhupada, he was the instrument, the pure instrument to fulfill this desire of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and desire of Krishna. So, and we're a part of that plan to spread Krishna consciousness around the world. Yeah. One may say, well, yeah, we're just in San Diego. How are we spreading Krishna consciousness around the world? So many tourists come here. So many tourists come. San Diego is a very popular place for tourism. So people are getting books here and they're going back to their homes. And sometimes they go back to their place where there's no temple. But Krishna's there in that village or that town. So here in this purport, Prabhupada mentions this Daridra Narayan. There was a person who promoted this, that why are you going to the temple? Don't you know God is loitering on the street? He's loitering on the street there. Yeah. Poor Narayan, Daridra Narayan. Yeah. Why go to the temple? I mean, God is everywhere. And Prabhupada would say, but God is everywhere. He's not in the temple. Yeah. Why not go to the temple? He's there also. Such atheism. Yeah. Yeah, it's certainly true. God is everywhere, but that doesn't mean everybody becomes God. You know. But we respect all living entities, knowing that Krishna is there in that body that we respect. It's a temple. So this is the and it's. Actually, the reality is that, as Prabhupada mentions out, that Krishna, he's never poor. He's always wealthy. And just like how many palaces did Krishna have in Dwarka? 16,000 palatial palaces, huge palaces. I mean, when God has a palace, he has a palace. Now, like, I'm sure it's bigger than anything else on this planet now. 16,108 beautiful palatial palaces, so much wealth. And what to speak of Vaikuntha? Inconceivable wealth. But there is a time where Krishna, he played the part of a poor person. That was Lord Vamanadev. He went as a beggar, had nothing. Shabdev, yeah, later he also became poverty-stricken. But Vamanadev, he approached Bali for donation, a little donation. He said, "I'll give you anything you want." Now he had the universe. You take whatever you want. You can take a planet. What do you want? Yeah, just give me 3 paces of land, and I'll be satisfied. He said, if one's mind is not controlled, then even you have a planet, still you won't be satisfied. But one whose mind is controlled, he'll be satisfied with any little thing. Just give me 3 paces of land. All right. One step, well, he covered the universe. Then he covered the sky, right? And then everything is covered. Hey, now you gave me 3 paces of land. Now everything, there's no more space. What now? Put your last step on my head. So there's that one time when Krishna appeared, poverty-stricken. But yeah, he's the wealthiest. And it's said in the Srimad Bhagavatam that Krishna, he is so wealthy, unlimited wealth. That's one of his opulences, wealth, so wealthy. But his devotees, they're poor. They're poverty-stricken. But on the other hand, Lord Shiva, the great Lord Shiva, he has nothing. He lives under a tree, has nothing. But his followers, they're so wealthy. So how is that? So Krishna explained that those who are apparently poverty-stricken, they're not poverty-stricken because they have love for Krishna. And those who are apparently wealthy, they have so much wealth, so many things, but there's no love for Krishna, so they're poverty-stricken. Prema dana vanavyate daridu jivan dasa kori vitana mori deha prema dana. That if one does not have love for Krishna, one is considered to be poverty-stricken. Poverty-stricken. Therefore, my dear Lord Krishna, this is Lord Chaitanya speaking, please engage me in your service, and all I want as salary is love for you. This is the salary you want. This is the highest salary. Bigger than billions of dollars. That's nothing. That's just insignificant compared to attaining the highest wealth, which is love for Krishna. So this is what we're trying for. This is the highest goal, actually, is to attain this love for Krishna, which is there in the hearts of all living entities. Nitya siddha Krishna prema sajji kabanoi shravanari sudichitte kuryodoy. It's there, Nitya siddha Krishna prema. It's there in the hearts of all living entities. Sajji kabunoi shravanari sudichitte. And it's awoken by this hearing. Hearing again and again. Long time, as I mentioned earlier. Long time. Then Krishna, he sees our determination. He sees our determination. He sees our patience. We're patiently trying. We're trying. We're determined year after year after year, decade after decade after decade. And then finally Krishna, all right, gives his mercy. And it's said that those who are on the level of prema, they have the highest level of humility. They reach the highest goal, love for Krishna, but they're the most humble. Interesting. That's the level on the highest, that's the highest level of devotion. Uttama adhikari. They think everybody else is serving Krishna, but me. Like inconceivable. Completely inconceivable. And they feel themselves the lowest. Amazing. Amazing consciousness that we should pray for and desire to have. And Krishna will certainly help us. So, in this purport also, Prabhupada mentions this Isavashamedang sarvang. This is a very famous verse, that everything that exists is owned and controlled by Krishna. Therefore, we should not accept anything more. We should only accept our quota, not accept more, knowing well to whom everything belongs. We have a quota. We need something, we need covering, we need something to eat. We don't need so much. We don't need so much. So Krishna has given a quota, and we should be satisfied with that. And it's interesting that I was listening to a lecture of Prabhupada. He said that even this body, it's Krishna's body. It's not our body. It's like we say, we're not this body. Right? Prabhupada was speaking to one lady, how you're not that body. And she said, well, whose body am I? Couldn't get out. You got to be somebody's body. So, we're not the body, we're the soul within, and the body is created by Krishna, so it belongs to him. And therefore it should be utilized in his service. Right? His body should be used in his service. Just like there's so many policemen here in San Diego. And they have their police cars. And what does it say? To serve and protect. Right? On all the cars, to serve and protect. So they're serving society, serving the government. And therefore, these cars should be utilized only to serve society, to serve the government. But imagine there's some cop decides to go on a vacation, and he's got his kids in the car, and he's got his wife in there, and they got the beach balloons in there, and he's got his surfboard, in the trunk, people would see that and like take it like, what? He's using it for a sense gratification. You can't do that. I remember I was at a concert distributing books, and there was a big parking lot there, and one cop decided to have a good time, and he started doing donuts in the parking lot. Having a good time, and the concert goers, they're like, well, what's this guy doing? Using taxpayers' money to just to have a good time doing donuts with a government vehicle. So no, it has to be used in the service of the government, in the service of the people. So similarly, this body has to be used in the service of Krishna, the highest government, and to help people. Prana, artha, dhya, vacha. Krishna, he says in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that it's the duty of all living entities to utilize their life, prana, artha, their wealth, their intelligence, and their words, everything for helping people become uplifted in Krishna consciousness. So this is the duty. So I wanted to read something. Today is the disappearance day of Ravana and the victory of Ram. So I wanted to read some of that. Okay, there's a little thing here also about Lord Chaitanya and this victory of Ram. This is from the Madhya Lila, 1532. On the victory day celebrating the conquest of Lanka, a day known as Vijaya Dasa, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dressed up all the devotees like monkey soldiers. Displaying the emotions of Hanuman, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took up a large tree branch and, mounting the walls of the Lanka fort, began to dismantle it. In the ecstasy of Hanuman, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu angrily said, "Where is the rascal Ravana? He has kidnapped the universal mother Sita. Now I shall kill him and all his family." Everyone became very astonished to see the emotional ecstasy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and everyone began to chant, "Jai, Jai," again and again. And now here's the pastime of Ram battling with Ravana. Lord Ram ordered, "Matali, drive quickly to where Ravana is staying, but at the same time be very cautious." Then, remembering that he was speaking to Indra's charioteer, Lord Ram felt embarrassed, and so he apologized. "I am very sorry to have instructed you as if I were your master. It is just that I am eager to kill Ravana, so please excuse my offense." Lord Ram was very humble. Somehow he got the chariot of Indra, and he's got the chariot driver also of Indra. I didn't know that. Matali was very touched by Lord Ram's wonderful display of humility. As he maneuvered Indra's chariot close by Ravana's side, Lord Ram and his adversary began to exchange arrows. Soon the fighting became very intense. Clouds rained blood upon Ravana's chariot, and a flock of vultures followed him from behind. A huge meteor fell nearby, And so all the Rakshasas became exceedingly despondent, while Ravana became convinced that he would soon die. On the other hand, very pleasing signs appeared before Lord Ram, and so he became convinced that victory would soon be his. In the duel that followed, Lord Ram and Ravana gradually exhibited the entire wealth of their respective prowess. The competition became so intense that both armies became stunned with amazement. Indeed, all the soldiers stood motionless, just like paintings, and because they were so absorbed in watching the fight, they did not even think of attacking one another. All the soldiers stopped fighting. They were just watching this fight between Ravana and Ram. Interesting, huh? When Ravana tried to knock down Indra's flag, Lord Ram deflected his arrows with his own. Then, because he was determined to match Ravana, blow for blow, Lord Ram knocked down the Rakshasa king's flag. Ravana then pierced Indra's horses. But when the celestial steeds did not even stagger, he became angry and frustrated. At last Ravana resorted to the Rakshasa power of illusion to send forth mace clubs, huge shuriken disc, trees and mountain peaks. Lord Ramachandra was able to counteract all these before they reached his chariot, and so they fell upon the army of monkeys. Lord Ram and Ravana continued to dispatch thousands of weapons at each other, and as they collided in the air, they fell down into the battlefield. In this way, the fighting continued for about an hour. Lord Ram matched Ravana, blow for blow, while all created beings looked on, their minds astonished with wonder. Both drivers also displayed great skill, but when the chariots came side by side, Lord Ram forced Ravana's 4 horses to turn away by piercing them with 4 arrows. This incited Ravana's anger, and so he repeatedly pierced Lord Ram in retaliation. Lord Ram remained undisturbed, and thereafter the exchange of all varieties of weapons became so feverish that the fighting that took place was unparalleled in the history of warfare. Sometimes Ravana fought in his 10-headed feature, and at other times he fought in his normal form, having 1 head. On one occasion, Lord Ram managed to sever Ravana's head with an arrow, but as that head fell to the ground, a duplicate one miraculously cropped up in its place. Lord Ram then severed that head, but once again another one immediately manifested itself as a replacement. Again and again Lord Ram cut off Ravana's head until altogether 100 such heads lay on the battlefield. Because each time a new head appeared to replace the old one, Lord Ram began to wonder, with these arrows I formerly killed Maricha, Kara, and Virada. I pierced 7 sal trees and killed the invincible Vali. These arrows had humbled great mountains and agitated the fathomless sea. How is it that they are now ineffectual against Ravana? The duel continued at a fierce pace. Both combatants were obsessed with the desire for killing the other. In fact, several days and nights passed without any break in the fighting. At last, when Matalai saw that Lord Ram was not gaining his desired victory, he inquired, "Why are you simply fighting defensively? My lord, are you not aware of your limitless potencies? The hour of doom has now arrived for the king of the Rakshasas. Why don't you employ the divine Brahmastra?" Being thus reminded of his ultimate weapon, Lord Ram picked up the arrow that Agastya Rishi had formerly given him at the time of their meeting in the Dandaka forest. That arrow had been constructed personally by Lord Brahma for Indra's use, and later on it was presented to Agastya. Garuda supplied the feathers of that wonderful arrow, and the sharp head combined the energy of the fire god Agni and the sun god. Mount Meru and Mount Mandara contributed their gravity to the arrow's weight, and its shaft was made from the subtle ethereal element. This Brahmastra weapon was omnipotent and infallible, and its dazzling effulgence made it rival the splendor of the sun. After empowering the Brahmastra with the required mantras, Lord Ram placed it upon his bowstring. As the monkeys gazed upon that flaming arrow, their hearts became filled with delight, while a dreadful fear penetrated the cores of the hearts of the Rakshasas. As Lord Ram pulled the bowstring back to his ear, the earth trembled, and the heavens also appeared to become disturbed. Just by pulling the string back, the earth trembled. That's amazing. Okay, got to find a word there. When Lord Ram released the Brahmastra, it sped through the air like death itself, and then violently fell upon the chest of the wicked Ravana. After piercing right through the king of the Rakshasa's heart, that effulgent arrow entered deep into the earth, taking his sinful life along with it. As that awesome Brahmastra came and re-entered Lord Ram's quiver, Ravana dropped the bow from his hand and fell down dead from his chariot. Sri Ram ki Jai. So much for Ravana. Did you have a question? Yeah. Okay.
So I want to ask you for an example, or maybe 2 or 3 examples of how we are, when good arguments fail to work, allowed to be violent towards all the living entities.
When good arguments fail, violence is necessary. Well, the example I gave of the Battle of Kurukshetra, they tried, they tried to avoid the war, but they wouldn't give in. So war was necessary. And another example, right off the top of my head, I can't think of any, but
what if somebody comes to you and says, hey, they're trying to fight you. Hey, you're trying to push you and you can't get out of it. And you're like, you're trying to tell them, hey, please stop. Like I heard something recently. There was these 2 guys that were in jail, and one guy, he knew karate. Another guy didn't really know. He just knew some street fighting, but he was kind of like trying to be a bully. The street fighter guy was trying to be a bully. Hey, let's fight. And the karate guy was saying, hey, man, please, I don't want to fight you. I'll hurt you. Just back off. So then they kept on going, and then eventually the guy, he attacked him. The street fighter guy attacked him, and the karate guy just,
beat him up.
Yeah, beat him up. So, he was trying to, arguments failed, and then he.
Yeah.
So, anyways. So, in the Vaishnava, because you mentioned about, you mentioned about Narayan. Oh yeah, Dridra Narayan. And, right, he's not poor. And then you have this idea of Lakshmi. So reminded me of coming up in Kartik, there's the celebration of Lakshmi Puja. Now it's on the Vaishnava calendar, It's in Kartik. Of course, I've never seen devotees really, celebrate that or even mention it so much. But if someone was to ask us, like, hey, this is on the Vaishnava calendar, it's in Kartik, what would we say to those people?
Well, we worship Radha and Krishna.
Yeah.
Lakshmi, she's an expansion of Radharani. So by worshiping Radharani, automatically we're worshiping Lakshmi. Yeah, it's interesting. Lakshmi Puja is her appearance day, or what is it? Yeah, we never, yeah.
I am a spiritual communist, and I've talked
So are we.
I know. So I've talked to other devotees, and as a studier and servant of Lord Krishna in material philosophy to better the lives of material beings on this earth, I wasn't satisfied with answers I got in a temple in Kansas City. I believe everyone is doing as they should in Krishna consciousness, as am I. So I would like to ask, what more can you do to further the cause of spiritual communism, as I do believe that there is a great transition among us in this century.
Yeah, well, we're doing actually quite a bit. We're distributing a lot of books throughout the world, millions of them every year, to help people understand that everything belongs to God. Everything should be utilized in the service of God. This is spiritual communism. And yeah, we're doing Harinam and Prasadam distribution. So actually, it's rather late, and I have an appointment I have to go to. So, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki.
There may be a time where devotees have to defend themselves.